I'm Micah Staten, and this is my Arthur presentation. Samuel Langhorne Clemens, also known as Mark Twain, was born to John Marshall and Lane Lampton Clemens in Flora, Missouri on November 30th, 1935. He was the sixth child and not in the best health during the first 10 years of his life. He was born 2 months premature, and during this time it was not very common for a baby so premature to live. Early life. At the age of 4, his family moved to Hannibal, a port town off the Mississippi River. Mark's father worked as a lawyer, judge, and storekeeper. However, his family struggled financially due to his father's many debts. Mark credited his mother for his great storytelling abilities, as she loved storytelling. Mark's time in Hannibal greatly influenced his later writings. At the age of 11, his father died, forcing him to quit school and start working. He worked many jobs before becoming a printer's apprentice. During his time as a printer's apprentice, he wrote articles and worked on newspapers. Twain later pursued to become a riverboat pilot. However, tragedy struck when his younger brother Henry was killed at the age of 20 from a steamboat explosion. He held much guilt as he convinced his brother to join him as he trained to be a riverboat pilot. Mark's early life was filled with tragedy that surely had a large impact on his writings. The beginning of Mark Twain's writing career. Mark's career as a riverboat pilot was short-lived due to the Civil War shutting down all river traffic. This led him to join his brother in Nevada in hopes of becoming a successful silver prospector. This path in his life ultimately failed as he did not find himself lucky as a silver prospector. Twain then began writing for Territorial Enterprise, which was a Virginia City, Nevada newspaper. This is where he used his pen name, Mark Twain, for the first time in his newspaper writings. He got his pen name from his time as a steamboat pilot. Crew members would yell, "Mark Twain," as a way of informing others of the depth of the water. Mark Twain meant the water was 2 fathoms or 12 feet deep. He decided to head to San Francisco in 1864 and continued to write for newspapers. Then in 1865, his first big story broke out. It was a short story of the celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County. This short story was published in newspapers all over the country. Personal life. Twain fell in love with Olivia Langdon after a friend of his, her younger brother, showed him a photo of her. From this point on, he made it his goal to marry her. She turned down his first engagement. However, he was persistent, writing her over 180 letters. He prevailed in the end, and the two got married in 1870. They had 4 children, a son and 3 girls. Their son Langdon was the firstborn and died after only 19 months from diphtheria. His 3 daughters, Olivia, Clara, and Jane. These are photos of them. Career. Mark Twain's career was full of success. His fame began when his short story of the celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County was published in newspapers across the country. Most notably, it was published in the New York Press in November 18, 1865. He wrote a total of 28 books, along with several letter sketches and short stories. His first 3 books in order were The Innocents Abroad in 1869, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, published in 1876, and The Adventure of the Huckleberry Finn in 1885. Mark Twain is so famous that even after nearly 115 years, he still has a massive following. His works are timeless and will surely continue to be talked about for many years to come. His top 5 works. His top 5 works in order were The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, 1876, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, 1885, The Prince and the Pauper, in 1881, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, in 1889, and finally, The Gilded Age, in 1873. Awards 1. Mark did not receive any rewards during his lifetime due to him being more widely recognized after his death, and due to the major literary awards being established long after his time. However, he did receive honorary doctorates. Yale gave him an honorary doctorate of letters in 1901. In 1902, he received an honorary doctorate of law by the University of Missouri. Finally, in 1907, Oxford University awarded him a doctorate of law as well. On October 20th, 1998, a Mark Twain Prize for American Humor was created in his honor and has been awarded yearly ever since. Themes. In these next 5 slides, I will discuss common themes and ideas that are represented in Mark Twain's top 5 works. The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. A theme of hypocrisy often arises in this short story, as adult figures are hypocritical by expecting children to own up to their mistakes and do what is right when they are unable to do that themselves. Venner's conscience reproached her, and she yearned to say something kind and loving, but she judged that this would be construed into a confession that she had been in the wrong, and discipline forbade that. So she kept silence and went about her affairs with a troubled heart. O Aunt Polly, why so hypocritical? In The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, themes of morality are common. Tom is constantly getting himself or others in trouble, but he assumes responsibility for his actions, showing a strong sense of maturity and morality. The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. In Huckleberry Finn, a common theme that Twain talks about is racism. When Huckleberry Finn's father finds out that a black man is free in Ohio and able to vote, he goes on a racist rant. Thinks I what this country is coming to. It was election day and I was just about to go vote myself if I weren't too drunk to get there. But they told me that there is a state in this country where they let that vote. I drawed out. I says I'll never vote again. This sadly was a large issue of the time, as racism was so prevalent. The Prince and the Pauper. Injustice is a big theme in The Prince and the Pauper. When Edward Tudor, the son of the king, is thrown in jail, he realizes that the people there are punished so heavily for meaningless crimes. Meanwhile, those wealthy and in charge get away with such serious crimes just because they have the resources to get out of it. This greatly troubles Edward, as he shows great compassion for the common people and wants to make a change. A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. In A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, there is a theme of New World versus Old World. The ideas of the Old World, where you have to be born with birthright in order to be successful, are contrasted with the New World's ability to work your way up and make yourself from nothing. The book also shows how technologies have great benefits, but that they also cause many problems no matter what time period you're in. The Gilded Age. In The Gilded Age, themes of greed and systematic issues are prevalent. The book highlights how families would go to such extremes to acquire as much wealth as possible, regardless of how wealthy they already were. Systematic issues like when the Amaranth exploded brought forth the ever so common issue that many faced in America. A jury of inquest was impaneled, and after due deliberation and inquiry, they returned the inevitable American verdict, which has been so familiar to our ears all the days of our lives. Nobody to blame. No one was made responsible, a very common theme in America when it comes to large businesses and corporations. Ideas and themes of the era were racial hypocrisy and westward movement. Racial issues. Mark Twain really targets racial issues in Huckleberry Finn. When Huck and the runaway slave Jim become friends, Huck realizes that Jim is no different than he is. Both have feelings and families. Both strive for a better life. In the end, Huck realizes that Jim is a much better person than many others that he knows, and he will do anything to keep Jim from having to go back into slavery. This relationship really showed that there is no difference between those of different skin colors. All people feel, hurt, and love. There's nothing that keeps us from being friends other than the hate that is passed down through generations. Westward movement. Mark Twain discusses westward movement a lot in his writings. They give one a look into what settlers' lives were like and the things that they ran into. In Roughing It, Twain describes the West as a dangerous place. He talks about the potential prospects of striking it rich. Many greedy people left everything they had and traveled west in hopes of finding silver or gold. Twain himself tried his luck as a silver prospector, but unfortunately, it did not work out as he planned. His personal experiences in the West gave him a raw view of what the West was truly like. Of course, as always, he found a way to add his humor that he is so well known for into the story. Hypocrisy. Mark Twain explores the hypocrisy that was very prevalent during his time in many of his writings. Racial hypocrisy was very common in Huckleberry Finn. As slave owners acted as they are just and morally sound when they abuse and own people. In Tom Sawyer, Twain exposes the hypocrisy that is very common within adults. The adults expect the children to uphold morals of honesty and trust when they are unable to do that themselves. Mark Twain managed to expose many troubling things that were occurring in society during his time. Bringing attention to these issues while having an entertaining and humorous story is a true testament to Twain's talent as a writer. Reflection. After much time studying and researching Mark Twain's life and his many works, I see that he was truly one of a kind. His life was a roller coaster filled with many ups and downs, from losing his brother tragically in an accident to his father dying when he was just 11 years old. Not only did he experience much death, but he struggled to find a steady job until he got his big break with the celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County. The success of his short story propelled him into the industry as an author, landing him multiple jobs and many opportunities. Twain fully capitalized on his short story successes, and the following works he would publish were huge successes, solidifying him as a legend in the industry. His works continue to be read and talked about almost 115 years after his death. I have thoroughly enjoyed researching him and his work. My hope is that I have done a good job documenting such a legendary man as Mark Twain. And these are my references. I have 2 full pages. Thank you. This was Micah Staten, and I really appreciate your time.